On this edition for Sunday, August 1st, hospitalizations rise as the Delta variant continues to spread. In our Roads to Recovery series, addressing the mental health needs of students. And a new exhibition seeks to highlight the impact of solitary confinement. Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wachenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, the Leonard and Norma Clorfine Foundation, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment, to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular has been offering no-contract wireless plans designed to help people do more of what they like. Our U.S.-based customer service team can help find a plan that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Additional support has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The United States continues to see a surge in new infections from the coronavirus Delta variant, but increasing hospitalizations and deaths are almost exclusively among the unvaccinated. Today, the nation's top infectious disease expert said even though the virus surge may get worse before it gets better, new lockdowns are not likely.
I don't think we're going to see lockdowns. I think we have enough of the percentage of people in the country, not enough to crush the outbreak, but I believe enough to not allow us to get into the situation we were in last winter.
The New York Times shows some of the worst outbreak hotspots in Florida, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Missouri, where vaccination rates are lagging behind national averages. Vaccination rates increased in parts of those states over the past 3 weeks. The total number of cases since the pandemic began reached more than 35 million in the U.S. as of yesterday. For more on the spread of the Delta variant and the potential risks, I recently spoke with Jessica Malady Rivera, an infectious disease epidemiologist and research fellow at Boston Children's Hospital. I began by asking her about how employers or leaders should be thinking about minimizing risk.
Right. I do think that this is a critical point in the pandemic where risk is kind of greater for everybody, but they're not equal risks, right? We know that the vaccine is protecting even vaccinated people from having the worst of it. It's keeping them out of the hospital. It's keeping them from dying. And so because of that, what we're trying to do is just slow the cycles of transmission in the population. And that's why even the vaccinated need to be exercising extreme caution right now by wearing their mask in public indoor gatherings when there are places with poor ventilation, because we need to slow the amount of virus that is in our communities, right? In order for all of us to be safe, it's kind of a balance between low transmission and high vaccination. And until we get those two variables kind of in a good balance, we're all going to have to exercise caution, especially places where people congregate, parks, offices, large gatherings, banquet halls, conferences, etc.
How much more contagious is this than the one that we sort of got used to?
It's significantly more contagious. There are estimates that people who contract the Delta variant have about 1,000 times more virus in their bodies. And what we know about viral load is that the higher the viral load, the more likely it is that you could have infectious virus to shed to other people and cause them to be infected. And so because of that, it makes the person who carries the Delta variant much more likely to be infectious for possibly a longer period of time to more people. Unfortunately, we are seeing even higher viral loads than we anticipated among the vaccinated. But all that to say, there is a higher viral load in an infected person.
Now we've got another few weeks of summer left here, at least for school-age kids, and that's got parents very concerned about what they should do if there is a more contagious version and they've got kids that can't be vaccinated yet.
Now that there are kind of anticipation of vaccination for kids under 12 closer to midwinter, it does cause a lot of parents to pause and wonder, what does that look like for their kids going back to school? And I think that that's why the CDC had to change their policies on masking and recommend universal masking in the context of school for all students and teachers and administrators, regardless of vaccination status, because until then, that's really the bare minimum. That's the best thing we can do to kind of, like I mentioned earlier, keep those cycles of transmission as low as possible.
What about both the mask mandates as well as the vaccine mandates? I mean, we've seen kind of fits and starts depending on where you live, depending on where you work. Your employer could say, hey, listen, we want you to have a vaccine.
Employers are absolutely within their right to mandate vaccines for coming back to work. And that's partially because, we have to consider occupational hazards for both employers, employees, and the people that they serve, depending on the industry. So I think we are probably going to see more of that. I think it'll probably increase once the vaccines are fully approved by the FDA, which could happen anytime between August and January.
If there are still pockets of the world, and right now the majority of the world does not have access to vaccines, has not beat this 100%, there's still the likelihood that, and the possibility mathematically, that this thing keeps going.
Viruses evolve, right? They mutate as they replicate, and they replicate inside people's bodies. We could outsmart these variants. We could outsmart SARS-CoV-2 by giving the virus less opportunities to infect bodies and less opportunities to change and create new variants. We have a huge advantage, at least here in the United States, of having tons of vaccine available, and we can outsmart these variants and kind of get to a point of pushing it down and preventing new variants from emerging by having less susceptible bodies around. We have a huge opportunity here to kind of interrupt the evolution of this virus.
How do we sort of brace ourselves for different variants, whether it's this coronavirus or something else?
I do think that we should be prepared for SARS-CoV-2, the virus, becoming endemic. That is a possibility. And endemic doesn't necessarily mean disruptive, right? H1N1 became an endemic flu virus that circulates now quite often with the flu seasons. And so I think that it's something that we can have an advantage over if we get to that right balance of a mostly vaccinated, protected population, so that there are less opportunities for the virus to kind of infect and disrupt and then overwhelm our healthcare systems.
There are people that hear the news about how contagious this Delta variant is, and they say, you know what, that's pretty bad, but it's really just going to hit the unvaccinated people. But there is still a threat to these folks and the folks around them that are vaccinated.
There are people who are still succumbing to the disease, getting very sick, even if they're vaccinated. And we have to remember, too, that we don't just get vaccinated to protect ourselves. We get vaccinated to protect other people. And we also wear masks for those same reasons, too. So it's imperative that people who are vaccinated continue to exercise caution because people around them are relying on it. So I think it's much, much bigger than an individual's choice when they think about it that way.
Jessica Malady-Rivera, infectious disease epidemiologist and research fellow at Boston Children's Hospital. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The Senate was in session again today, working on legislation that could authorize more than $1 trillion in spending on roads, bridges, airports, public transit, and other projects that are referred to as traditional infrastructure. A bipartisan group of senators worked on the specific language of what is reportedly a more than 2,500-page bill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said throughout the unusual weekend session that he expects a vote on this bill in the coming weeks. The Senate is also expected to take up a second bill which the Biden administration is backing. It includes $3.5 trillion for a wide range of programs, including health care and tax breaks. The Senate is scheduled to begin a summer recess on August 9th. At the Tokyo Olympic Games, it was a day of unexpected and record-setting performances today. In a surprise win in the track and field competition, Italy's Lamont Marcel Jacobs sprinted to first place in the men's 100-meter dash, securing the gold medal. In the women's triple jump finals, Venezuela's Yulimar Rojas broke the Olympic record in her first jump, but she was not finished. In her final attempt, she smashed the world record with a mark of 15.67 meters, more than 51 feet. She is the first Venezuelan woman to ever win a gold medal. In swimming, the U.S. team broke a world record in the men's 4x100 medley relay and continued its winning streak. The U.S. has never lost the event since it became an Olympic sport. For more national and international news, visit pbs.org/newshour. Educators and counselors are preparing for the start of a school year unlike any other. After more than a year of pandemic restrictions, counselors are focusing on ways to assess and address the long-term social and emotional health of children when they return to the classroom. NewsHour Weekend's Christopher Booker reports from Fairfield County, Connecticut, in the latest installment of our ongoing series, Roads to Recovery.
Good morning. Hi, James. Good morning. Hi, Tina.
Of the many ways counselor Curtis Dara works to connect with his students, the most simple tactic is also one of the most important. He learns the name of each and every student he is responsible for, all 375 of them.
Hi, Kaylee.
Not surprisingly, this past school year at Westside Middle School Academy in Danbury, Connecticut was a bit different. The students only started coming to in-person classes in January, and even then it was part-time. And Dara, like every other educator in America, had to change the way he did things. Social distance measures meant no lunch bunch meetings with the 6th graders, no drop-in visits to his office from the 7th graders, and the annual 8th grade trip was canceled. For a counselor who was recently named Connecticut School Counselor of the Year, such restrictions were minor compared to other challenges.
It was really hard as a counselor to read emotions through a mask. Like, you know, I would have to kind of like see the kids' eyes and like, are you crying? Are you happy? Or no, oh, I'm good. Like, you know, so.
How much of a change did you see in the students between before the pandemic and now wherever we are?
I think there was a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear in some of the kids' eyes, and like school is meant to be a safe place, a safe haven for them to feel comfortable and for them to feel connected to like teachers and other students, and you know, maybe they have like their first like crush and stuff like that, and we didn't see any of that this year.
Missing such hallmarks of middle school were part of a larger deficiency through this past year. Dara says that fundamentally, the pandemic has put enormous stress on a central aspect of middle school development, known as SEL.
SEL, or social emotional learning, is a lot to do with kids being connected. A lot of here at Westside and even the Danbury Public Schools, or I feel like in education nowadays, are trying to really connect students to know what a good friend is, or like, you know, how to approach people with manners or kindness, and knowing what your strengths are on the inside and how you can bring that out. Just overall being like a good person. And I feel like right now a lot of kids, especially in the pandemic, are not connected. They're disconnected.
Sitting down with a group of 7th and 8th graders, you hear the same thing.
Did you feel like you were connected, or did you feel like you were disconnected?
Disconnected. Some days I just had my friends on FaceTime during class, just not really to talk to them, just so that I had like company, so I wasn't just sitting in my room alone in a meeting.
Exactly. Doing your work at home is way different. Like, you have to always be there for your teacher, have your camera on, and I have a sister, and she was home, so you could hear her. And then every time I unmuted, you could hear my sister in the background. So it was pretty tough.
Did you find you had good days and bad days? Like some days you'd say, oh, this feels okay, and other days maybe it didn't feel okay?
Yeah. It definitely got like lonelier, because you don't always have someone to turn to and talk to. Because when you're in your room alone or like in a meeting, you can't just turn and talk.
And the story is the same with teachers as well.
The best word to describe it is overwhelmed. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, definitely a lot of exhaustion. And one of the things that came out most this past year was that feeling of being disconnected.
Jan Hockadell is the president of AFT Connecticut, the state's teachers union.
Unless you were in the school building or in those Zoom classes with those students, nobody can fully understand what these educators went through.
And this, says Hockadell, is changing the way Connecticut is thinking about the upcoming school year. Again, returning to the concept of social emotional learning, but not for the students, for educators.
If the educators are in touch with their feelings, their emotions, and then they have the empathy to then understand their students better. And I know it's an overused analogy, but when you're flying on an airplane, you have to put your safety mask on first. Then you can help others.
When we think about the toll that the pandemic has taken on students' well-being, I immediately say we need to start by also thinking about all of the adults around them.
Christina Cipriano is the director of research at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence.
When we can start to understand and think about how each student and each teacher, each adult in our school community how they're feeling, how they're handling the current times, noting that that might be different today than it is next week, next month, and next year, and using that information as an opportunity to evolve how we're interacting with them, the instruction that we're providing to them, and able to support them in the long term.
One homegrown tool Connecticut is utilizing is called the Ruler program, a curriculum that was developed by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Ruler is an approach to social emotional learning centered on the 5 skills of emotional intelligence: recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating. It's been used by teachers around the country for almost 15 years. Traditionally, this was done in person, but the center began offering a virtual 6-week training in 2019 to accommodate educators who could not travel to in-person training. With the pandemic, the training was offered exclusively online. But with an influx of billions of dollars in pandemic-related education aid through the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan, Ruler is seeing unprecedented demand.
We know that you cannot support students in an authentic and healthy way if you yourself as an adult have not learned how to regulate your emotions, cannot label them effectively, and cannot be an authentic expressor. We have an opportunity here to take perspective and to learn from the varied experiences of others. And even if we ourselves did not experience a loss at a scale that our neighbor did or that someone across the country did, there's a great opportunity here and a hunger to learn from that experience so that we can all support each other to heal in a healthy way.
And that in and of itself presents the unbelievable challenge as it relates to September. If you have these teachers who, like everyone else, have gone through whatever this was, the trauma, the disruption, the anxiety, and they're not okay, and not having space to talk about being okay, that seems remarkably complicated.
Absolutely, and it will continue to ripple. Because it's going to show up differently in student behaviors and teacher behaviors as we move through next school year and arguably beyond, right? We have little precedents to understand what this will look like, but when we look to, previous traumatic events, again, not the same thing, but looking at what was happening in New York City and surrounding areas after 9/11, what was happening after Hurricane Katrina, we know that the ripples of impact lasted for years.
Ripple effects that Counselor Curtis Dara will be looking out for.
What do you think the students will be like in September?
I think kids are going to be coming in here hopefully with smiles on their face and after a nice enjoyable summer. Unfortunately, there's a lot of kids who didn't do well academically, and so those are the kids I'm going to have to really touch base with and talk to and make sure they have a plan and set in place for their current grade year so that we can get them back on track.
This is a tall order for Dara, who split 750 students with just one other counselor.
We're going to need a lot of work going forward in the fall of making sure we can connect those kids on a social and emotional scale. They haven't seen friends in a very long time. They haven't been with each other in a long time. I think we're ready, we're prepared. As you know, I never know what's going to come through the door, but we're going to be definitely ready come fall. And I'm really excited. I'm optimistic. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I don't think I was born to do anything else. I love kids, and I love seeing their growth from 6th to 8th grade.
In June, New York City's Board of Corrections announced it will end the practice of solitary confinement beginning this fall. The announcement was made just days after the 6th anniversary of Kalief Browder's death. The New York City teen spent 3 years inside Rikers, 2 of those in solitary confinement, without being convicted of a crime. Browder subsequently struggled with his mental health and eventually took his own life. A new exhibition in Brooklyn, New York, seeks to shed light on Browder's story. NewsHour Weekend's Yvette Feliciano spoke with artist Kobe Kennedy about his exhibit.
In his piece, Kalief Browder, The Box, at Brooklyn, New York's Pioneer Works, artist Kobe Kennedy created an 8x10 by 6 feet sculpture that replicates the exact dimensions of a solitary confinement cell on New York City's Rikers Island. The glass surfaces are etched with line renderings of the bed, barred window, and toilet, along with text.
Sandblasted on the side of the piece here is Kalief Browder was kidnapped off the street by police, taken away from his mother, family, friends, held for over 1,000 days on Rikers Island for a crime he did not commit, and was physically and mentally tortured by being locked in a solitary box for over 700 of those days, 23 hours a day.
When Kennedy first learned about Browder's story through news reports, he says he felt incapacitated for days.
It hit me so hard because I feel a real personal connection to it, because what he made it through and what he endured has been one of my worst nightmares ever since I was a child. And to be held in that way, you know, you're kidnapped.
In addition to his time in solitary, Browder was physically and mentally abused by prison guards and other incarcerated people.
You talk about this chronic fear of having a situation like that from the time you were, you know, a child. Where does that stem from?
For me, I've experienced, whether it was growing up in DC as a kid or living my life in New York, honestly, every country I've been to, you know, I've experienced these moments where I've come very, very close to having that freedom taken away. A lot of times just for being who I am. And I knew going into this that the piece itself, being a recreation of a solitary confinement cell, could be triggering for people. But then on the flip side, there are vast, vast amounts of communities and people that need to see this and need to experience this.
To that end, the installation is presented in conjunction with a 4-part town hall series led by the civic engagement organization 4 Freedoms. It introduces participants to the damaging impacts of mass incarceration. Discussions center the voices of legal scholars, activists, and formerly incarcerated people at the forefront of the movement to end solitary confinement.
I'm standing in front of you as somebody telling you I suffered the inhumanity, the indignity, the trauma, and the torture of solitary confinement. Nobody should be treated like that, not any single human being.
Sam Giratani of Negative Space, a social justice consulting company, facilitated the collaboration between Kennedy, Pioneer Works, and 4 Freedoms.
Because it's a show around mass incarceration, there's sort of like a small sect of people that will continue to come and see shows like this. But because this is happening at Pioneer Works, I'm hoping that we just reach a little bit more of a broader audience. Even if it's not completely changing a mindset, it's at least educating people on the Halt Solitary movement and what they're doing to change policies.
What is it that you feel like the other side, or people from this subjective reality that's so different from yours, you know, what are they missing about Khalif's story?
They don't realize that they would offer him plea bargains all the time while he was locked up, and he wouldn't take them. He was out for 2 years after he was released, fighting for his case against the city. Not just that, but fighting against the realities of the institutions that were still coming down on him, still trying to paint him as a criminal.
Browder's trauma caused lasting depression that resulted in his suicide in 2015, about 2 years after his release. But it's Browder's strength in solitary confinement and his perseverance that Kennedy wants the public to remember him for.
It's the story of a boy finding so much fortitude and so much strength within himself that no matter what came at him, he always fought back against it in defense of his own humanity and his own truth. And the most important part on this piece is the quote that Sam blasted here. The way I looked at it, if I got to stay here just to prove that I'm innocent, then so be it. That's by Khalif himself.
Browder's family settled a lawsuit with the city of New York in 2019, yet no one was held accountable for having incarcerated the 16-year-old for 3 years with neither trial nor proof. Kennedy hopes the sculpture will illuminate the Halt Solitary movement and Browder's overwhelming endurance inside the box.
A lot of people miss that in the whole story, is Khalif's strength, you know, his fortitude, just nonstop, even all the way up to the last part of his life.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, immediate support is available 24 hours a day through the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. For the latest news updates, visit pbs.org/newshour. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and have a good night.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wachenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, the Leonard and Norma Clorfine Foundation, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment, to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments. Additional support has been provided by Consumer Cellular and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
You're watching PBS.